Alrighty, welcome back to the Well-Rounded Wealth Podcast. Today we have a little different format of episode, and especially where we're recording from.
We're in Europe.
Yeah, all the way across the pond. We are in Chamonix, France, near Mont Blanc, which is a very famous hike and trail race. And we kind of wanted to do a recap on what we've learned so far, just in terms of perspective and balance. I think the Europeans and just international people in general have a very different way of looking at life than we are trained to, and kind of we look at things in America, and that's what we want to focus on today. So, Jack, what is the most notable thing just in terms of perspective of kind of the European lifestyle that you've noticed?
I mean, from my time here so far, and I guess I'll start at Paris because that's when I joined in with you.
Yeah.
But I think mainly the biggest thing that I've noticed is just more ease.
Yeah.
More ease, like less stress. But I mean, whether or not it's really like that all the time or not, I don't really know, because we were just there for about 4 days. But just eating lunch and just kind of in the environment around us, sitting outside a cafe, that was just a lot more chill than usual. And our lunch, even though the food was fast, we could have probably made that a 30-minute time if we wanted to make it. Like, we were there for hour and a half, like just really enjoying the food and just engaging in conversation and things like that.
I think their meals is definitely one of the aspects that I've noticed is drastically different from ours. Is they actually focus on the quality of their meals and sitting down and making it a conversation piece, as opposed to in America, a lot of times we're either rushing through a meal at lunch or at breakfast to get to work. And in Europe, they're slowing it down. They're saying, like, okay, this is the food, here's where it comes from, this is the type of drink you should pair it with, and then have a conversation. It's take an hour for lunch, have a conversation, meet with people, talk about their day, talk about what they do outside of work, which is another huge thing that I feel like a ton of conversations revolve around in the U.S. And here, a lot of people like to focus on extracurriculars and not just focus on their work. And I think the best way to describe it is they work to live as opposed to living to work. So.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I don't know if it's exactly black and white.
Yeah.
I really don't think it is, if I'm being honest. There's definitely that reverse, that there is more of the live to work in America and work to live in Europe. But I mean, that also depends on who you are. Depends on what you're doing, because there's definitely both of those sides of the coin, no matter where you are. I think, but as a whole, I think it's probably more so that way.
I think, I think focusing on the macro level, like granularly, or not granularly, but looking at overall, like just how many people you see just out and about. I mean, like once 5 o'clock hit in Paris, like there were just people everywhere, just sitting around a river or by a park, and it's kind of like, we were talking to one of the guys we met who was awesome. He showed us around, went out and went to lunch with us, and
his name was Mikkel.
Yeah,
loved him.
Yeah, so Mikkel, hopefully you listen to this one day.
That'd be awesome if you were listening.
But yeah, I mean, it was amazing that he took time out of his day just to random travelers.
He was in charge of the wine tasting that you did when you first, right before I joined you. So you did it before I got out.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you just got to know him, and he was willing to hang out and just talk and chill. Yeah,
meet new people, show him around, show him what the culture is all about, which is incredible. And he's, especially, I mean, granted, that's kind of his line of work, where he does a tour and meets other people, but to also do that the next night and the night afterwards to hang out with us, like, that's incredible.
So he met up with us at a bar to watch the soccer game that was going on, and then we met some of his friends, and then he went out to us later on at like a bar club hybrid and stayed out with us. Like, he's living his life. He stayed out with us super late. Like, he was there till like, what, 3:30, 4 o'clock or something like that?
He was there when we left.
So. And then the very next day, we were you and I were just walking around,
Yeah.
and then you had his number, and what, did you reach out and just ask him like what was going on?
He just told us we should meet at this place the next day, and I thought we were just going there, and then he's like, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
So, and then he walked around with us for probably
It's a couple hours or so, maybe even
probably
longer.
2 or 3 hours, and
It was a Sunday, so like.
yeah, granted, but I mean,
Still,
yeah.
and it was just really cool to like walk around Paris with a local.
Yeah.
And someone who lives there. Like he swung by his apartment real quick to pick something up, and then he knew a place to go and grab a bite and chill.
Yeah, it was awesome. And even just talking with him like on how he likes to live too. I mean, he was from Spain, and then has been able to live in 4 or 5 different countries, and I thought that was really interesting with a lot of the people we've met over here. Is there's a lot more people who live in different countries, and it's just a more normal thing, at least from my perspective.
I mean, we've been comparing it to living in different states.
Yeah.
In the U.S.
Yeah, and granted, Europe is probably the size of the U.S., so, or at least closer than like the size of what the U.K. is compared to, I don't know, what the size of the massive U.S. is. So it's just refreshing to hear people that not only are they willing to kind of show us their cultures, but also they have other cultures that they can bring to the table and get different perspective from those different ways of life, and kind of bring it into their own and see what works for them.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, the really cool thing about having countries so close to each other like that, in a way where it feels really comparable to states. And even though like it's not like all states are the same, like there's very different vibes, very different places of the country. Like Nashville is very different from New York, and then LA is a beast of its own. Like there's still there's still variety. It's not like it's all just same across the field, but you go into a different country and it's just kind of really easy to do that. It's like different cultures, different foods, different
language,
all this.
Like there's everything that's different, which is amazing, that they have access to all those cultures so close. And I mean, I guess it comes down to kind of where you're born. You can't really, if you're from the Midwest in the U.S., that's not really like a thing that's like, oh, like let me just hop over to Canada real quick, or Mexico. That's a little bit longer of a trip than just hopping from Spain to France kind of thing. So,
yeah, and I think honestly, what I would say though is I think we're altering perspectives a little bit. I've noticed, you and I, because you keep bringing up how you kind of would want to move here for a few years.
I think it would be, well, I think I can definitely see myself going both ways, because I mean there's so much to experience, and I guess that's more just kind of who I am. I would want to be kind of like in the culture, and I feel like that's the best way to do it, and kind of get a different perspective from like people who are living in that country.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could also see like there's merit in working hard, like, and sticking to something in the U.S. Too, so, and then just traveling over here and being able to gap it. So I mean, I think I'd have to definitely do a lot more reflection on it, but I can see myself doing that for sure.
Yeah, on my end, the reason, and I thought when we were first in Paris, I was like, oh my god, I love everything about this place. Like I was like, holy shit, and like just walking through and just seeing like the city landscape and just the architecture of the buildings, which I fell in love with. Like I kept saying, it feels like we're on a movie set. Like I absolutely loved it, and every day in Paris was fantastic. That was such a cool part of the trip. Yeah, but I don't know, in retrospect, I was like, okay, what if I moved to Paris? What if I like packed my bags, moved to Paris, and found a job, started living the culture? I'm kind of like, okay, well, there goes like being able to talk to my family whenever I want to, friends whenever I want to, like regardless of where you're from is where you're from, and your family is where your family is. Yep. And I don't think there's one place that's better to live at than the other. Maybe for you personally. Some
Yeah.
fit your styles better.
Yeah.
But I think overall it really doesn't matter. The location doesn't matter to me
Yeah.
that much in the long run. The
Yep.
location doesn't matter to me that much.
Yeah, I think it's about, honestly, and the more stuff I've read on this is like being able to find happiness wherever you are. Like we just talked to one of our roommates, I guess, that are staying with us in one of the hostels, and she said that she's kind of been traveling for the past 10 years of her life, and it hasn't been like constant travel. It's she'll go take a week here, a week there, and then go back to the U.S. But she's loved her home base, but she always feels like she wants to get out and see a new culture or see a new country.
Have an experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, yeah, I mean, it really just kind of depends on who you are, and I know we've talked about kind of risk tolerance in earlier episodes, but I think no matter where you are, and we can kind of shift from perspective to balance. It's finding balance in whatever you do. And I don't know, what's your kind of thoughts on how balanced we are, or how much more balance is over here compared to the U.S., or do you think there is a lack of that kind of where we're from?
I think, well, it depends on who you are and what you become accustomed to.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if I was born and we're talking about our time in Paris, let's say I was born and raised in Paris,
Yeah.
then that'd be perfect for me. Like,
Yeah.
that would be awesome. And maybe, like, long run, maybe that would be a better lifestyle overall, of just the more nonchalant and getting to just enjoy everything, not stress too much.
Yeah.
And I also think the opposite end is definitely like the worst, when you become almost neurotic and you're almost like freaking out and dealing with stresses every day, and through not even just work, but through the way that American culture is set up, and like the way that kind of our, in the long grand scheme of things, micro society is kind of stemmed up. Like, there's all sorts of stresses that gives us that I feel like they don't experience as much over in Paris. But even so, like, also when we were going out, there was still, it's still all a similar culture. Like, they have social media and they do the influencer game. We heard a story about an influencer living in Paris. Like, everyone still has the same shit. I think at the end of the day, there's no paradise country where everyone's just got it figured out and they cracked the code to life. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that goes back to kind of what you need in life, or what you think you need. And I think that's all kind of figment of what we see and what we grow up accustomed to. Because the Jill, who we were just talking to, she said she visited Africa, and some of the happiest people she ever saw, because they didn't need to get up to work. All they needed to do is get up and make food, and then they kind of just played around all day, which there's beauty in that, but then there's also, okay, I want to be able to provide more for a family, or making sure their safety for longer, and that's something that they don't know about, so that might not be something that they're as concerned about. But I do think it's good to have more balance around work and life, is where I think we're kind of getting to.
Yeah, sorry, just waiting. We got a lot of cars coming by here. Sorry, this brings up a point that I actually think is important in the grand scheme of things. But have you heard about the like the hunter-gatherer societies that are still around? Yeah. So there's, I can't remember his name, but like he's a well-known guy that did like the documentary on it.
Okay.
And like went out there. I don't know if the doc is out yet, but
Yeah.
he's just talked about his time out there and stuff so far.
Gotcha.
But basically, all they do is, it's back to basics of going out and hunting, spending the day hunting, and then bringing back the food for dinner, and then celebrating, feasting and celebrating. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, they they break down life into like very simple things.
Yep.
And according to him, it was like amazing, like because it was just simplistic and
Yeah.
easy, and there wasn't a lot of like internal fighting within the tribe or anything like that, because everyone just had a pretty basic role and everyone just did it, and everyone was like, yeah, another good day and another good day
alive. Yeah.
um
Yeah, I think it's when your basic needs are covered. That's kind of your ground zero for, okay, what do I care about after that? Like, when in the family I was raised in, like, where I was so used to seeing, like, oh, okay, like, let's take a nice vacation, or dad got a promotion, let's get a new car, and that kind of stuff. But if there's a society like that where they don't know about what's a nicer thing, then they don't have any reason to care about it.
right.
You know, if they can cover their basic needs to a certain level of shelter, eating, sleep, and having a family around, then that's good enough for them.
It's kind of like an ignorance is bliss
Yeah.
type of thing, because I bet you take one of them to like a country club with like a nice pool, I'm sure they'd be like, whoa, this is awesome.
Great. Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah.
Like, oh, these warm showers, like all that, like, yeah,
Yeah.
no matter
That is true.
no matter where you come from,
Yeah.
that's a luxury. You're gonna like it,
Yeah.
no matter who you are.
That's what I was going to ask you next, because there are luxuries in life that are nice.
Yeah,
Like
most of them are.
Yeah. It is a luxury. Like, I think that kind of stuff, like, if you have access to it, it's not necessarily like you should feel guilty, but there can be more of a appreciation on why you have it, you know. Kind of
Yeah.
like, okay, I don't want to just start accumulating stuff. It's like, why am I getting this, or why am I experiencing this, or why am I working towards this? And once I get this, do I know that it's going to provide me more than just sitting there and being a thing?
Yeah.
So, and that's where I think we kind of mix and balance, or at least me on a personal level. Like, I kind of had that in my head as, I think, a little backwards. Is like, okay, I needed to work super hard so that then one day, like, I'll be able to get what I want whenever I want, kind of stuff.
Have all the nice things you want to have.
Yeah, but if I work that hard in the process of giving up these X amount of years of my life to get there, then is that worth it? And for me right now, I think this is the whole reason we kind of started the podcast, and I'd say no, because you're passing up on life, which is now and not 5-10 years from now. So
Yeah, it's definitely, I think on this trip is just living in the now.
yeah.
Hold for car. Yeah, it's definitely just been living in the now on this trip. Let's talk about today for a second, because
Yeah,
I've been
it's
dying to talk
been
about what we
crazy.
did today. I mean, so you woke up first, so you could start your day.
Yeah. So just for a little more context, Mont Blanc is a massive mountain region in France, and I mean, we're in a basically valley between two massive ranges.
Yeah,
So
it's one of the coolest sights I've ever seen in my life.
yeah, and you can look in any direction, and there's mountain, there's snow, there's waterfalls, it's like
I'm sure we'll post some things on the Instagram before this episode comes out.
It's impressive, honestly. But yeah, I got up early. I was like, all right, I want to see a little bit sunrise, kind of get up and do a hike. And I mean, I got to see little chateaus up on the mountain kind of through the hike, and got to see a glacier, which was awesome. But we stumbled across an experience, like, literally just the day before, and we were like, you know what? Screw it. Let's sign up for that. So
Yeah.
if you want to tell them what that was.
Yeah, so yesterday we signed up for parasailing and essentially paraglide. Oh my God.
Or, not at the beach.
I said that to someone. I forget who it was. I was like, oh yeah, we went parasailing.
in the mountains.
So we went paragliding, and so basically, we went up with some instructors, and they took us to a mountain peak, and we hooked up in all of our harnesses, and it kind of had like a fold-out chair that was like right on our butts, and essentially like the guy went to me, he's like, all right, we're gonna start running, and the parachute's gonna come up. Sorry, just making sure the tech was still working. So parachute's gonna come up, and then there's gonna be a lot of resistance, and we're gonna keep running, and then there's gonna stop being resistance, and we're gonna run off the mountain. Like that's what we did, and then when I was like, all right, you went first. I watched you do it, which thank God I got a little visual tutorial on how to do that.
Yeah,
and then I was next, and like, dude, like running off of that thing.
Oh my God, it was like, wow. I don't think it really hit me until we got up to the top of a mountain, because we literally signed up for it 12 hours beforehand, or I don't know, maybe 18 hours beforehand.
The day before.
We got up to the mountain, and we see all these people laying out there, like getting ready to do the exact same thing we are. And I'm like, holy crap, I'm about to run off a mountain.
Well, dude, I was asking before, and I was like, so how does this work? Like, do we do we just kind of like sit and just kind of like scoot off a mountain? Do we go in a plane? I didn't know.
Yeah, we had
no, it was just you run off the mountain cliff with a parachute attached to you, and you start flying. And we signed up for like the aerial one, where we were doing a bunch of like tricks in the air and like doing flips and corkscrews.
Yeah. It was crazy. I mean, I don't think I stopped smiling the entire way down, and there'll be videos of it. We got GoPro
footage,
recordings, but I mean, I kind of just took a breath when I was up there, like a few quick second breaths, and I was like, wow, like this is something that we're fortunate enough to be able to do. And I mean, for where we are right now, it's an incredible view. So like that, it's a moment I'll never forget.
That's something I'll never forget. So we talked to our instructors, and I talked to mine. His name was Hugh, and I asked him like, overall, how many trips do you think you've done? And he was like, thousands. He's like 3,000, 4,000. And I was like, you've been doing it pretty much your whole life? He's like, the last 25 years. Yeah, I've lived here and done that. And I was like, that's awesome, which it is.
Yep.
But then that's also part of perspective, because I don't know, if someone like getting rid of all rules of life here, someone just came up to me and said, you could have that guy's life, where you just do this pretty much every day for the next 25 years, and you live here, and you don't have to worry about any financial problems or anything.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because think about that. It means drop the podcast. That means drop your whatever training you want to do next, like besides the iron, like, any of that stuff.
Yep.
We'd have to drop a lot, drop family and things like that.
Yeah.
It's like our lives are our own, I think. And as much as I've loved getting other perspectives of people, like Hugh, my instructor for paragliding, who was awesome and seemed really happy and has a cool life, it's just, that's his life. That's his thing.
Yeah.
That's Hugh's life.
Yeah.
And I don't want to compare whether or not me or Hugh is living life more full or better.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's really like that. I don't think that's really anything that can be quantified or
I think it's
like put on a spectrum at all.
Yeah, I think it's that, like, for you, like, you talk about film and acting, like, you just see someone's excitement with it.
Yeah.
And
like, I want to make a list of like all the places we visit and like movies and shows I can watch like that were filmed there, so I can watch that and like look at what they decided to do for the filmmaking in those places that we visited. Like, and that excited the hell out of me. Like, I'm really excited to do that.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yep.
That may not be what you're dying to do when you get back.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I think for me, it's making sure I don't lose sight of what else is in this world, because I could probably start going to learn how to be a paragliding instructor, but like anything you do over and over again, you don't get that same burst of excitement the first time you do it. Like here, put it into this perspective. Like if you have an Oreo, the first time in your life, you're like, wow, this thing could be great. Or if you, I don't know, hike a mountain and see a beautiful view from a peak, you could be like, wow, this is great. But if you do something over and over and over again, you don't get that same sort of excitement, and it kind of starts to, I wouldn't say dwindle, because some people could find that amazing excitement in every single day and every single thing that they do. But I want to be able to take what I've learned from here and the experiences I've had from here and try and start to vary mine a little bit more. Try a lot more new things, instead of just doing my same routine over and over and over again. So
Yeah, I do agree with that. I do also want to stay on somewhat of a routine and have
Yeah.
some sort of regimen in my day still. Like I feel like we talked about that in past episodes too.
yeah, for sure.
But I also think it's taking time, like we're doing right now. Like
Yeah.
we're lucky enough to be able to take the time to have completely new experiences,
Yeah.
like paragliding earlier
Yep.
today, or hiking mountains that I've never seen in my life,
Yeah, it's
and
incredible.
all that stuff. But also still have what my life is.
Yeah.
Like, because we were just walking to record this. There's people that are here that are just in vans.
Yeah.
Like, and they just travel around.
Yep.
And maybe that works for them, but
Yeah.
for me, I can't do that. Like,
Yeah.
and I think we were both kind of agreeing that it'd be nice to have a home base rather than
Yeah.
like a van we travel around in. But
For
I
sure.
need some sort of routine to my day. I need some sort of home base. Like, I don't want someone to ask me like, oh, like, what do you do? I travel around to different places in a van all the time.
Yeah.
I'm sure maybe they think that's really cool, but
Yep.
it's also like we're all trying to find our niche too, and our thing, and what defines us and our personalities.
Yep.
If you're just constantly going to place, at least in my head, then I feel like maybe you could lose sight of that.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this a little bit earlier, but in the documentary I watched on, there's a book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. So,
I've heard of the book.
Yeah.
One of my roommates was reading it.
and it was a really good documentary, because the author of the book, and he's the main character of this documentary. He said he basically since he was, I don't know, 16, 18, basically traveled the world until he was in his like 30s or something like that. And he had been to 60 different countries, like all sorts of things. And one of the things that kind of stuck with me is that at a certain point, you need, like, there comes a desire to commit to something. So, and for these people in the vans, it could be committing to going to climb every single mountain. For you, it's committing to finding that acting role. For me, it could be committing to, I don't know, starting the next business or something like that. And commitment is great and routine is great, but if you lose sight of what else is out there, like what other things you can balance your life with in the process of that commitment or that routine, then you're just going to be kind of going through life in a kind of regimented schedule and not experiencing what's new, I think. So,
Yeah.
And I used to be like that. I used to wake up at 4:30 every morning, like do my workout, eat, go to work, come back, do another workout, eat, and then people would ask to hang out or like, you want to go do something? I was like, no, I gotta be in bed by XYZ because I have to get up to do my routine again.
Right.
And
So
then
you have
it's
the
like,
schedule.
yeah, and you can just lose. It's so easy to lose sight of other things other opportunities that are out there. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think one thing that I've noticed when I have been into working out, it's good to have like a group of people to be doing your
Yeah.
routines with.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, what you described sounded lonely as fuck.
Yeah.
Like just, and I assume you were doing most of your workouts
Yeah.
and stuff by yourself.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yeah. No, I
that
got
gets isolating.
burnout. Yeah. Yeah. For
Yeah.
Sure.
So I think also just like having a community around you as well during that routine, I think
Yeah.
makes it better,
Yeah. No. 100%.
more healthy too.
I think for me, just in terms of what I've been kind of reflecting on, is that the most important things in my life are and that I'll always remember are first going to be people. So the relationships I have, the people I love, family, friends. That's the most important thing that will always stick with me. And then experiences, I would put second. And then after that, I mean, I don't know. I'm 22. I don't have everything
Yeah.
figured out. So I don't know. Maybe something I build or work on or something like that will be most memorable. But I know for me, like the people I've had in my life, or I've loved, or like the friends I've had, or the family I've had, like I will always hold them close, just because it's a human connection that you can't. I don't know. You can't find that connection with an experience.
Yeah.
So, as much people are marrying objects nowadays, I don't think it's the same as connecting with a person.
Wait, where did we hear about that? Was that
It was with our bike tour guy, Christian.
Oh my god.
Someone married the Eiffel Tower apparently a few years ago.
No, he said that was in like the 90s or something. I think it was a long time ago.
Really?
Because I think we were surprised about how long ago it was. Because I thought you made a joke like, "Oh, ahead of the times."
Oh, yeah. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's been happening for longer than we thought. But I don't know. What is the Eiffel Tower going to give back to that person besides a bunch of iron and lights?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, a person can have so many different impacts on you. So
Yeah, and that's the main reason why I wouldn't want to
hop around.
jump ship and hop around, just because I feel like I'd lose sight of that.
Yeah.
And so far, like, even including these awesome experiences, like, I always do this, but the deathbed thing, like, or like, if life flashes before my eyes for whatever reason,
Yeah.
I think there will still be other things in front of that
Yeah.
paragliding experience we had today.
Yeah.
That
I
will-
hope so. And I mean, we've been fortunate in that I know not everyone gets that. Like, some people
Yeah.
don't have a great family to grow up around.
Yeah,
or,
that's true.
Or great friends. And I would say to people in those situations is try and get out of your comfort zone, because I'm sure they're used to doing more experiences on their own because they haven't had people to connect with, or haven't ever had someone that connects with them in a certain way. So, and just like it's kind of the opposite of what we were, or where I kind of thought I was. Like, I had good relationships with people, but I hadn't gone out and experienced certain things that I can come back and tell those people and be excited. Because I think actually, this is something I'm kind of just coming to a realization is, when I do these experiences, what's the first thing I want to do? I want to share that story or whatever with someone else.
Yeah, true.
So-
Like, I'm so excited to tell some of our friends
Yeah.
from home.
Yeah.
That's, like, honestly the main reason like, what if we didn't have that? It's just like, we did that and we had no one, like, to tell about anything we did on this trip at all.
Yeah.
It'd be less, I feel like it'd be a little less impactful if we didn't have anyone to share that with.
Yeah, I think the moment would still be impactful, but the ability to make it last longer. Kind of like
Yeah.
our episode on like numbers versus like pictures or memories of
Yeah,
experiences. Like,
Episode 5.
it's, if you don't have a way to revisit something, then with other people, and yes, there's pictures, but I don't think it'll resonate as much. Talk about like our trip as friends, like back when we were in high school or whatnot. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, one of my favorite things that happened today was you and I walking through the snow part on the hike.
Yeah.
Like, that was, dude, because you're fucking insane. And like, you've run, like, you just ran an Ironman a couple months ago, and we're like on this steep ass cliff, like side of a mountain, and we're so high up, there's still snow, even though it's June, and there's like. There was an even harder one more high up, and even you decide, like, that's too dangerous, like, we could die. So
We could have done it.
maybe.
We did the lower one.
And then we did a lower one, but still, I was like, dude, like, if I fall, I'm screwed. like And we got through it, but like you're walking at a decent pace, and I'm like literally taking it like one little step at a time. Like
I think I was laughing. That might have been the most I laughed in a while, because Jack's literally like leaning over, like still holding onto the snow as he's walking, and I'm like looking back. I'm like, come on. He's like,
I was like,
dude, what are we doing?
I was like, I'm gonna kill you, dude. I was like, I could die. If someone else saw it, they'd understand. It was dangerous. You look at things differently. That was fucking dangerous what we did today.
No.
Yes. And I am glad that I had someone like you to be like, all right, fuck, I gotta do this.
Yeah.
I think any other person I was here, I feel like we'd both agree, like, yeah, let's we're not equipped for this.
Yeah, we weren't.
And we also weren't equipped for that. We were
walking
in our
in
sneakers, shorts, t-shirt, in the snow on the side of a mountain. You fucking dumbass went to walk right in the snow.
See, it's not that hard though. We survived.
No,
I'm
glad we did it because after we got through that was the coolest part of the hike.
Yeah,
like seeing all
cool.
the other
terrain.
Yeah, we got rained on, we got hailed on. It got to like 90 degrees at one point. Like I was sweating. It was like the biggest variety of weather I've ever experienced within an hour. I was like, what is happening? I'm gonna get a cold.
Yeah, Jack's gonna wake up hypothermic tomorrow.
But yeah, see, like that was my favorite part.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, paragliding also, but
yeah. It's moments like those, like sharing those little moments that like you wouldn't have without someone else.
Yeah.
And I think that's like some people love that, I guess, but I want to be able to share things that I experience in life, like with others, like with friends, with loved ones, in relationships, because I think it just amplifies that experience. Exactly.
Yeah.
Looking back on my experience wall at the end of my life, like I want to be able to be like, oh yeah, I remember that one. I did it with that person. I want to call that person again and be like, let's catch up and remember this crazy thing we did when we walked across the side of a freaking mountain. Like,
and also people we met too, like Mikkel, like I'm never gonna forget him.
Yeah.
And like him taking the time out of his day to like hang out with us, like show us around Paris, like from his perspective.
Oh my
Brad.
God, yeah.
Our buddy,
Brad.
yeah. Brad was too awesome not to talk about. He was a guy from Australia that was on our Speakeasies tour that we did, and then we went out afterwards and hung out, and it was a lot of fun. Like, we got to know him really well, and him and I bond over liking beer, and like I gave him my address, and he's gonna send me some of his favorite beer from Australia, and then when I get home, I'm returning the favor and shipping some out to him. Like, that's awesome. Like, that's so cool. He was so sick. I really liked him.
He was a great guy.
Really good guy.
Great perspective too. Like, I mean, he was in his 30s and he was going traveling Europe alone. But I really like how we've done this trip, and we're not just being the traditional tourists where we're like, oh, let's go see the Eiffel Tower and then let's go walk to the Louvre, which I didn't know had 50,000 paintings. So like we didn't do it, but I mean you can get lost in there. Like 50,000 painting, that's a ton.
And I've been through art museums where like I didn't know anything about any of the art in the museum going into it, and to this day I couldn't name you one painting I saw. Yeah, I could. It just all became a blur.
Yeah, exactly. And
we would have saw the Mona Lisa and taken our picture of the Mona Lisa and looked at some other shit and not have remembered anything about it.
But the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
But back to like how we did this trip, it's like we did it so much more experience based, where we can meet people from here and meet new people. And like, I mean, maybe going to see paintings is your thing, and do it if you love it. But I would highly recommend like.
Christian's advice was, like if you go to the Louvre or a big art museum, like, you have a particular artist or a time period or something like that, like that you want to go and see, because he's like, if you don't narrow it down at all, he's like, you're just gonna go in there and not everything's gonna blend.
Yeah.
Which I think was really good advice.
Yeah,
But I think people that would want to go to the Louvre are already doing that. You know what I mean? That like
exactly.
legitimately really want to see it. They have other things besides the Mona Lisa they want to see.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's another great person we met, Christian. He was from Croatia and teaches English in Paris. I mean, and he was the happiest guy, or one of the happiest guys I think I've ever met. And we kind of just spiced up the tour, and we were like, screw it, let's go climb on top of these poles.
Oh yeah, the little pillars in the Grand Palace.
In the Grand Palace.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've never had a group like you guys before, like so energetic, and it's just cool to meet. I think the people we've met will honestly stick with me as much as jumping off a mountain, to be honest.
Yeah,
so,
same.
And you, like, even though that, like, I'll never forget that picture of, like, when I took that breath in, like, I'll also be able to always go back and reach out to Brad and Mikkel, Christian, like, which is awesome. Kind of check up on how are they doing in life, like, what new things have they tried, or, like, let's meet up, or like a year down the road, like in some different country or something like that. So
yeah, it's been great. However, if you're ever thinking about going to Geneva in Switzerland, don't go. Don't do it. Or at least stay in the youth hostel that we decided to stay in. Actually,
don't stay in that one.
Yeah. Don't go there. Maybe it's actually a pretty. We barely got to see it. It was like a layover stop we took, but.
I think Geneva would be cool. We were just long days of traveling.
It was just we had a long day of travel, and the UN is there. That would have been cool to see.
Yeah.
Blew my mind. The UN. I don't know why they picked there. It's like.
Yeah, it's like the middle of Europe, I guess.
I don't know. It's just like, it was such a weird place to pick it to me. I don't know. Maybe I need to give Geneva another chance sometime.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we got Rome tomorrow, and then Florence.
Yeah.
And then what were the rest of your stops?
I'm doing Cinque Terre in just 5 towns in Italy, and then going to Pisa, and then I head home. So, gone from home for a whole month, staying. Cannot wait to sleep in my bed. That is one thing.
That's gonna be nice. Yeah, we talked about how I don't know if I could do this, like jumping around hostels again.
Yeah, not for
this one's been all right, just because it's so much quieter and the weather's great here. So like none of these places have AC, so at least that's better. Yeah, but
I think it's nice how Jill does it. Is like taking a week out of like when you have your week off of work, or
picking one place.
Yeah, picking one place and going there and really experience. And you don't have to travel abroad. Like,
dude, U.S. has got some crazy places to go to.
Like, just try new things. Try, like, if you have never gone out to a bar, like, try it. Why not? There's a ton of people that enjoy it. Maybe you might. Or if you've never gone hiking, try it. Why not? There's tons of people who do hikes. Or if you've never gone to the beach or never gone swimming, just try new things.
Never done hard drugs. Try it.
Okay, maybe not that.
You might like it. You might get addicted.
I think that's the whole target of it. We're talking about hitting your natural dopamine sensor, not drug targeted ones.
You haven't done heroin. Give it a go.
And then
Give it a whirl. You never know if you might like it.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's gonna be our next guest on the podcast. Why to do hard drugs and what's so much better about it than other things.
Oh my god. That'd be really funny.
That would be funny.
That's our next guest. Patrick spoiled it too soon for you guys. So we probably got one more episode planned during the trip. So I fly home from Florence, so we might do one more recap episode, maybe find a different angle to discuss it at. But yeah, no, this has been really fun. It's been a really cool trip, and the perspective thing has been probably the coolest part, and just kind of getting to dip into these cultures, and also just having fun. It's been fun.
Exactly, enjoying where we are and in the moment. And I think, like, on this perspective stuff and balance, it's not. I don't want to take everyone's like one certain culture's perspective and bring it back and like, no, that's my life now. I want to find little pieces that I think can work in my life and put them in places that work for me. So, but I don't think I ever would have known that, or I might have known it just through looking it up, but I never would have known what it actually means from someone.
Yeah.
That lives it, you know.
Yeah.
So.
And also like from a like personal level, like let's face like superficial level, like meeting people, having these stories, like it's gonna be cool to different people. Like like people that you meet, like just like having that behind you and getting like to share that, and also like, and for me, because like I like doing stuff like making like entertaining stories like out of it, not like fabricating a story. Like we've had some fun stories, but it's like the way you tell a story is so impactful and can change so much. So it's gonna be fun figuring that out for me, and just like telling some of these fun stories that we've gotten to have. Yep. All right. Well, yeah. Let's call it. So yeah, thanks so much for listening. As always, guys. Yeah, we haven't done an official outro yet, but overall, if you guys are listeners, if wherever you're listening from, if you want to give our podcast a follow, it really helps us out a ton. Leaving the ratings really helps out a ton. Just helps it reach more people through the algorithms that those podcasts websites like Spotify and stuff do. And all that stuff. Check out the website. Check out what's going on there.
On Instagram, and when we get back, we're definitely we'll be releasing a lot more content. So it'll be a lot more easier when we're together and we got our systems figured out. But it's definitely been a good few episodes, trial runs. But now we're with all the feedback that we've gotten and seeing how impactful these kind of conversations are. We definitely want to keep helping others and finding ways to get these messages out to people. So.
Also, like, DM the Instagram or go on the website, reach out to us. And, like, we'll probably try to come up with more ways to reach out to us, but we'll respond. We'll definitely respond to those who have. Thanks for reaching out. And as you know, we responded to you. If anyone has any feedback, any ideas for episodes or anything that you want us to discuss, reach out because we would totally consider it.
Sounds good. Well, we will see you guys in the next one.
All right. Peace.